The power of culture and leadership in business. I'm Ryan McCarty.
And I'm George Rogers, and we go live every week to learn from each other and hear from other experts about how to effectively champion our team members and ourselves. So join us live every Wednesday on our social networks or subscribe. You can listen to Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Now, let's champion your culture.
Yo, here we are. I'm Ryan McCarty.
I'm George Rogers. Oh man,
Back for another week, brother.
Yeah, it's good to be here
in studio.
Unexpectedly planned, but it's always good to see your face and be here. Ladies and gentlemen, the best coffee breath you'll ever smell.
Thanks, man. I don't know about that. Coffee breath is pretty bad.
But yeah, everybody, welcome again to Champion Your Culture. As always, sponsored by Culture Good. We appreciate everybody that's watching us here live. And if you're streaming and watching us and or listening to us on your platform, we do appreciate you spending time with us today as we talk about part two.
Yes.
Part two of this. And I'm excited about
toxic culture.
Toxic culture. We got the cure. There's something that
there is a cure.
Yeah, there is. There's something that you can really inject within your workplace, develop, I should say, in your workplace that will help you along the way to really get rid of the sickness of toxic culture within the workplace.
Yeah, because as we talk about this, George, I'm excited because I know we have people that are joining us today. Some of you are in HR, some of you are directors, some of you obviously most of you have teams and you're leading them and you're looking for ways to champion those people, because in order to champion the culture, we have to champion the people in the culture. Yeah. It's really about the people, right?
Yes. It's the investment, right? You get they often say the old adage, you get what you put in, right? You reap what you sow. And so taking that time to really develop and really enhance, elevate your people. It always goes back to when Steve Jobs went back to Apple, for the second time to really fix the culture and to fix, the product that was. One of the things that he said, and people were mad, he said, somebody was like, why are we putting this much time into people that we know they're not going to be here? He says, what happens if we don't invest in them and they stay?
And they stay, right.
So, invest in your people. The great thing is that when you invest in your people, even if they do leave, you're part of their journey. You're part of that purpose that gave them a purpose, gave them a why. To do what they're doing next. Not everything's forever, right?
Yeah.
Not everything's gonna last forever.
Yeah.
And so you enjoy those moments.
Yeah. Well, before we jump too deep into
it,
you doing all right, man?
I'm good. I'm good. It's there's I want to give there's a special yesterday. As you know, Ryan, yesterday I got a call of a good friend. A family friend that and the wife, someone that was in, when I was a youth pastor. Mm-hmm. She's special. She was in Jennifer. She still is special. She's crazy as hell, a fireball. But I was allowed and given the opportunity to be a part of that family and her family and meet her husband. And yesterday, which is why I'm here yesterday, got the news that he suddenly passed away. He was on his way to work, at work. And so I want to send my condolences and prayers to Jennifer and the Garrett family, to his daughter, Lily, the precious princess, my best friend, and to Kenny. He was a great dad, man. He was a gymnastic dad is what he hashtagged all the time, baseball dad, and a great husband, and one of those good people, very young. And so, but yeah. The heart's broken there, man. But as always, what we always preach for people is to show up.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to show up for my family.
Yeah, and we want to show up for you as well, and our whole Champion Your Culture family. Many of you join us every single week, and we thank you for that. And we as a family want to just send love to you and to Jennifer and to everyone, the kids especially, and everyone out there that's listening or watching live, that are going through really, difficult situations and realities of life like this. And some of you are out there and we don't get a chance to not bring our hurt to work. We show up, but we have to show up fully as us. And that's why I love what we do every single week, because this creates an opportunity for us to just be real.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's the authentic, and a lot of people said, why did you make this trip? We're planning on going on a cruise, celebrate grandma and grandpa as a family. We're blessed to be a part of the family enough that we get invited to do this family cruise. That's this weekend. We're still going to do that in his honor and celebrate his life and his legacy and continue that. But you want to be you, and one of the things, and I know you said, George, you don't have to show up this morning, but part of showing up is also you get healing through that process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people, you say, try to work through your normalcy and work through the pain. But this is more of it's part of the healing process for me.
This is crazy, but this is an interesting thing that you bring up, that when you show up, it adds to healing.
Mm-hmm.
And the topic today is about toxic workplaces. Sometimes you show up and it actually does not contribute to healing. It actually creates even greater hurt and greater, because of the atmosphere. And I think about, what I'm going through with my dad, right? So he's in the hospital right now, got a scratch from a dog, an infected arm, and it was just almost lost him. He didn't take care of it. He's 73 years old. And I sent a message to Scott. We co-founded Culture of Good together, and he's obviously the biggest supporter to Culture of Good, and also to Champion Your Culture podcast and all of that. And I was just like, look, I can set up a little office in his hospital room, but I have to be there, and I just want to let you guys know that I won't be in the office much this week. And I mean, the message that I got back from Scott was like, tell me what you need, anything you need, let me know, I got your back. I mean, that's good leadership, right?
Yeah.
Because even that one little message just reduced all the anxiety and fear around work and job and everything else. And just having a leader in your life that can show up when you need them to is also really big. And I think one of the biggest I would say lack within a toxic culture, the reason that it's toxic sometimes isn't because the leader's toxic, is because the leader doesn't show up. And that can become even more of a difficult thing when you're going through stuff. So I appreciate you saying that, man. And anyone out there that just needs an ear to listen, or someone to reach out to, and you're going through stuff and maybe you don't have someone at work, obviously reach out to George and I. We're I think as you can get. We're going to tell it like it is, and we've been through the good, bad, and ugly really together. And that's going to continue. And so thanks for sharing that, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You never know, and I'm sure it's one of the things that I realize in life is that you're not the only one. Somebody is always going through something, and so if you're going through something, a trauma situation, a tragic or a trivial trial, there's different types of trials that we face. But wherever you are and whatever you're going through, just show up for you, however it may be. I show up here, but I look fine. But you can show up and still, be grieving. You can show up and be pain or lost or confused.
And sometimes you need to take a break too, right? So sometimes there does need to be a pause, and sometimes you need to be able, like I mentioned to Scott, like I'm showing up, but I'm gonna show up differently this week, right? I'm gonna keep showing up, but it's not gonna look the same. And to have really good leaders in your life that support you through those moments and understand that you're not gonna be at your best. You're not going to be performing at the highest level, right? I mean, we know this in athletics. We would say it's up here too. Like if your mind is not right and you go out and you're an Olympian and you've trained and trained and trained, but you can't get your mind right that day, that's going to be the difference of whether you can really be at that high level or not. And sometimes at work, we just have to know we're not going to perform up here because our mind isn't in it.
Yeah.
Right. Like today I was talking to you right before the podcast. I'm like, my brain's somewhere else, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I love doing this because it gives me an opportunity. It grounds me weekly. It's something that we know is going to happen for the most part. You know, this is our 40th week doing this. In 40 weeks, we've missed one.
Yeah.
I can't remember why we missed it.
You know, we were doing our cohort.
Yeah.
And we had
The
a
training.
lot going on, the training, and we did a post podcast. But yes, man, I'm gonna celebrate today. I'm 40 years old on the 40th podcast episode. 40 for 40. You know, ESPN has a 30 for 30. We're gonna do 40 for 40.
We should add a 40 ounce in here, man.
It will come. It will come.
That's awesome. Yeah,
that's great. That's great. So let's talk about this toxic culture, Ryan. When we talk about toxic culture and the cure for it, there's a lot of different things that you can put into a toxic culture to make it better. But sometimes toxic culture is kind of like a piece of crap or shit. Spraying doesn't always take care of the smell. right? So how do you really get rid of that shitty situation?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, right? It's like Febreze. You can't Febreze your business. You can't like add a little special event and think, all right, we don't have, let's say for instance, you're in a toxic culture where there's no cohesive vision and there's no teamwork where people are really empowered to work together and collaborate together. And so HR comes up with an idea, or maybe the head of people or culture. Let's have an event.
Yeah.
And we kind of like throw Febreze at the shit, and it's like you can spray shit and not smell it for a moment. It's still shit.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows it's still toxic, and so what we're saying is like, stop Febrezing things.
Yeah.
Like we have to really get to a place where we're cleaning stuff up, where we understand what the future looks like, what we want it to look like. Where are we now? And I think one of the things that we brought up last week is I've never had a business owner or CEO or anyone look at me and say, you know what, Ryan, I think our culture's toxic, man.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to admit that. It's reminds me of, I'm sure you've watched the show Hoarders.
Yeah.
Like nobody's asking, like, come into my house and see all the stuff. Like nobody wants that. But the reality is, until we start to address what's going on, we're never going to get to a place where we want to be.
Yeah.
Like all of us want to work in a culture that's supportive, that's healthy, that adds to our well-being, that enhances our life, that we can go home and talk to our kids and family about, and we're proud about that place. We all want that. Are we there right now? No. The question is, are we going to be there?
Yeah.
And the only way that we can get there is actually taking some proactive steps and measures. And the one cure to the toxic culture is really leadership development. It's really one word. It's leadership.
Yeah, leadership. It all starts there, right? Everything
it rises and falls
on leadership. And so that has to be a change of heart. And the thing about leadership, and before we get to our special, get too deep in out, I know you got something special cooked up for us in the audience today. Oh my gosh moment, or whatever it may be. But
craziest shit in HR.
Before we get too deep into it, I want to say this, because it's one thing to acknowledge it as a leader. It's another thing to really live it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leadership can say, I want this change and we need this change, but until you are a part of the change, the toxic culture won't you have to be a part of that.
Right? You want a really good quote?
Go ahead and hit me with
it. You can't lead a culture you don't live.
You remember Living Color? I just had a flashback moment growing up. A Living Color of the Wayne brothers was like 2 snaps in a circle.
Oh yeah,
that was a 2 snaps in a circle thing.
I was gonna drop the mic, but it's too expensive, man. I don't know if I can afford another one. But
drop
yeah, you cannot lead a culture you're not living. Leading is living, because leadership is example. It's not a style, or it's not a role, it's not a position, it's not a title. Leaders come with titles, but titles don't come with leadership, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we talk about so many times.
Preach!
Hey,
you own it today.
I don't know why. I have no idea why.
We need to leave your brain somewhere else a little bit off there.
Yeah. Just leave I'm talking from my heart today, because my brain's somewhere else. But real, at the end of the day, we have to understand that leadership really comes down to not just learning about how to lead people well. It's about developing the person that's leading and empowering them, not just through training or video series. That's Febreze. Now, is it necessary? Yes. Is training important? Absolutely. That's a part of development.
Yeah.
But development includes training, but not all training includes development. Another mic drop. Because a lot of us are throwing training into our business thinking, well, we just need everyone to learn about the soft skills. And the problem is, when you're learning about the soft skills and there's no application, there's no experience, you're not empowered to actually lead through that. And so one of the main criteria that we look at in terms of leadership development is, do the leaders within the business understand what it means to lead through their individual dominant strengths? We love Gallup. That box over there, George, that whole box is an entire Gallup manager development, because that's one of the aspects of what we implement when we go into businesses. Because I can ask you how great your culture is, and you could say, "Oh, it's wonderful," and then I'll say, "Well, do your leaders know their strengths, know their values, and do they feel and know that they're empowered to lead through their strengths and their values?" And then there's always a pause. Well, I don't know about that. And I would say, well, if you don't have that first, then you don't have the cure for a toxic culture. And a lot of times, the toxicity is we're blindsided sometimes by, why is there such a high turnover, or why aren't people's morale greater at work? Why are people just pissy all the time? It's because we may not recognize it, but we may be working in a toxic culture. Toxic culture isn't just like some man or woman walking around bitching about, and demanding things. We think about that way, but sometimes a toxic culture can be right under the surface, man. You know what I mean? You don't really, really know it until you take one more step, and then you
stare.
And
then
you're
trying to sneak and do great as a business, but you got this squeaky stairway.
Everybody's hearing it.
Everybody's hearing it. It's the culture without purpose. It's toxic culture is not always, as you said, it's not a shit show. It's not something that you always hear. Sometimes it's not something that you see. It's people. It's aimless walking. It's a toxic culture for me. Walking around with no sense of purpose. We're just doing a job
and no collective purpose.
Exactly.
Sometimes a toxic culture means that we're not all moving in the same direction, right? Where's the cohesive vision and purpose that we're all working toward? A non-toxic culture would be a culture where people have a collective purpose, that there's community. When I first came in to for-profit business from nonprofit work, I started using the word community. And that word community shifted to culture because that was an easier business term. But originally, I wanted to talk about community. Before it was culture of good, before I came up with that terminology of the business, I was focused on, how do we build community? The only way we build community that's healthy is a community where people have a collective purpose, where they're joined together, unified around a common goal or goals, and they're all and everyone's empowered to support each other,
Right.
to say, George, I'm not intimidated when you succeed and you're promoted, because that means we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Toxic culture, you get promoted and I get pissed. That's a toxic culture.
Yeah. It's holding the next person back.
I was reading all these crazy ass HR stories, and I'm about to share one here in a moment. But there was one HR story where literally an employee did not. They got one of their colleagues got promoted and they didn't, and they hired a hitman.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna celebrate you. I don't know where you can go from CEO of Culture Good, but whatever it is.
Whatever it is, man.
I'm getting with HR. We're gonna give you a promotion today.
Hey, and if you're out there right now listening, and you can provide comments and stuff, George is always on watching. And if you have something that pops into mind that you'd like us to explore as we're talking, we love doing that as well. I would love, George, this is something new. I've been listening to different podcasts, and one of them has people that call in.
Okay.
I'm interested in that, bro.
We'll get a number. Let's
yeah.
Maybe by episode 50.
50.
That'd be a special.
We'll have
call in. It'd be a call-in show. We'll take questions or answers or comments, and we'll talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because that'll keep things really cool. And we could bring, instead of having like a special guest, our guests can be those that join us every week. I mean, really, that's a really cool thing. So
creating community with our audience, right? Look at
that. Yes, community. Well, here it is. So one of our segments on Champion Your Culture that we love is the craziest shit in HR. So let's go ahead and get this started for today's craziest shit in HR. All right. I love it. Sorry, I'm still a 12-year-old kid that likes fart noises. All right. And by the way, George is making fun of it, but George has a car that makes fart noises. So I don't want to hear shit about it. All right. Craziest shit in HR today. Former HR here. I don't know. This just kind of struck me interesting. A woman once complained that someone in her department kept meowing. And it was getting on her nerves. I asked the meowing woman to come to my office. I said, "You're not in trouble, but apparently you keep meowing, and an employee asked us to address it with you." Her response: "This is America. I have freedom of speech. And what happens if she sees a cat in a commercial and the cat meows? Does she get mad at the cat?" To which I replied, "Well, no, because it's a cat. It's expected to meow." This went on for some time until she agreed to stop meowing. There was no reason for the meowing. She was just meowing. And I would say that's some crazy ass shit when people are going around meowing.
Hey.
I don't know. That just struck me as kind of weird. And then I thought, as a dad, all these dad jokes and puns and stuff, I was thinking, as an HR person, I would have looked at them as they came in and said, "You need to stop this meow."
Oh my gosh. We got
anyway.
That's it. That's it. I don't know what's in the coffee, ladies and gentlemen.
And that, my friends, is the craziest shit in it. All right. So I don't know if there's any other podcast like this on LinkedIn, but we have a really good time on here. Yeah. So, and listen, if you can't laugh about some of it, you'll go crazy, right? Yeah. So we want to just keep having fun with y'all. But the key to, or the cure to, a toxic culture is leadership.
Yes.
And when we talk about leadership, we're referring to leadership development. Yeah. When we think about toxic leaders in general, a lot of times they're toxic not because they intend to be, not because they want to be. It may be that they're unaware. Mm-hmm. It could be that they've never come to terms with the reality that their type of leadership or style or the way that they're leading is not producing the results that they really want. And so we blame employees, mm-hmm. for really what is a leadership issue.
Yeah.
So we'll say, well, people don't want to work. Well, I posted that this week. They don't want to work for a toxic culture.
Yeah.
Right. And so sure, there's high turnover because people may not want to work. Sure. Okay, go ahead and say that. The majority of turnover has to do with leadership.
Yeah.
People don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to understand that as people are being promoted within the workplace, as they're placed within position, we can't promote without empowerment, without development. How are we developing the manager into leadership? Not just teaching them soft skills about collaboration, not just teaching them soft skills, communication or whatever it is, but really empowering them to be a leader. One of the things, George, that you and I have had consistently throughout our lives are leaders that champion us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's people that are showing up. It's what we kicked off the show talking about. That you have somebody that there's times that we both. I know personally. I'll just speak for myself. There's moments of doubt.
Yeah.
Right. But it's somebody that can see what you may not be able to see within yourself, and having those people bring that out of you to give you that belief, that confidence. That self-awareness, right? We talk about some of those, soft skills, and some of it's just, having the faith in who you are and the potential you have. I didn't know what I knew now back then. I didn't know that I'll be the leader that I desire to be now. That I'm passionate about.
But someone else may have seen it.
Somebody else saw that in me. I was a sports guy. I was like, what the hell is leadership, bro? Like I didn't have that desire. What I do today was not something that I dreamed up and said I want to do this. For the rest of my life.
Right.
There was nothing there, but it became something that I had a passion about because I saw somebody find me where I was.
I think that's what it is.
You know what I'm saying? It's that crazy George used to be kid, knucklehead, who probably wouldn't have survived the lifestyle he was living. And somebody, a handful of men, yourself, Tim, Kevin, those men, one of my favorite teachers that really impacted me my junior year of high school, Mr. Bishop. He was a chef. We had a restaurant in our high school, and it was a gourmet chef restaurant. I wanted to become a chef in culinary arts, at that time. That's what I was thinking, because I just love to eat food. But it was people, men and women, that believed and said, man, if you can just get your shit together, right? If you can just get it together. And I see that in a lot of people. We both have those people in our workplaces, our office, come across our life that says, man, if that woman or if that man makes a few changes, or if they make a lot of changes, wherever they may be, the potential's there. But potential, I always talk about potential. Potential is that Christmas present that what it is. It's that one thing that you ask for. It's a guitar. Can't hide it. Yeah. But what good is a guitar that's never unwrapped? What good is potential that's never unwrapped? What good is that leadership that's within you that needs to be developed if it's never exposed? And you need those people that
this is like mentor, people that come in and say, I care about you as a person. I don't care just about the company, the goals. That's a given, right? But I also care about you as an individual, and I see the potential in you. I recognize something in you that is a bright spot in this world. And really, for someone to come into your life and be able to do that, one of the steps, I think, to introducing this cure into a toxic culture is to get everyone behind the idea of leadership development. A very simple way of doing that is getting people to understand the difference between leadership training, which is very one-off, centered on the day or that week, that conference, whatever it is. Whereas leadership development doesn't focus on the skill only, it focuses on the person. How are we developing the human being? This rehumanizes the business. And I think to introduce this concept into a toxic culture, we have to start by saying, look, our leadership training is good, but for us to be efficient and effective, and this is CEO talk here, right? We stop talking about engagement. We'll stop talking about people having a good time at work and feeling like they love the work, because that doesn't translate to CEOs very well.
Yeah.
Not every CEO. They'll get it, but what CEOs want are effective employees, right?
Yeah.
Employees that, sure, engaged employees are more effective, absolutely. But in order for there to be an effective workplace, we have to have effective development.
Yeah.
We have to grow the individual. How are we growing people? I was just talking to one of our leaders that was certified through our development and training, and also looked at their culture, saying that, yeah, last week I was listening to a toxic culture thing, and I realized before I was introduced to Culture Good, we had a pretty toxic culture, and we've been working on it, and everybody recognizes that there's a difference there. And they work in metal fabrication and different things. And I was telling them, look, of what you're building in the workplace, you know, out on the floor, the greatest thing you're going to build is not all this material stuff. It's going to be the people. Yeah. If you're building people, are you growing individuals? What is your plan for growing the human being, right? Yeah. For really you said the word investing earlier. Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's it, right? When you're developing someone, you're investing, you're planting. There's like this concept of agriculture where you're tilling the ground, you're planting seed, you're watering, you're fertilizing. you know, they're going through the shit and they're getting fertilized, and you're teaching and training through it, right? Because the shit's always going to be there. But also throughout that process, being able to say, all right, here's a plan for your growth, and I'm excited about the future of the potential of what's in you, and beginning to unwrap that, right? So that you can fully show up and bring your soul to work and experience that, you know. I think it's really cool stuff.
So true, Ryan. I think when we started doing leadership development, good friends of mine, we had 18 retail stores.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we created is Genius Phone Repair. We thought we were geniuses. And that's the worst name that you can create as a company, because if you can't fix somebody's situation, they say, I thought you were a genius.
Yeah, you ain't that much of a genius.
So we created Genius University. We just kept on digging a hole. But one of the things we did, we created Genius U within the company. It was built around 4 main events, you know, throughout the quarters, where we had a desires as owners and operators and leadership team to really invest in our people. And we wanted to see them, you know, it's kind of like Scott, you know, what does success look like within Round Room, to be able to look out and see the parking lot filled with nice cars.
Yeah. Because people are growing financially, and your financial health is a lot about your well-being. Yeah.
The financial health is a lot about the mental health, right? And the stress that it can relieve in some areas. But so we did that. We had something based on financial, we had, you know, health, physical health. We did leadership, and then we did, it was called a spontaneous, right? So that was not planned, it was chaos. We had a panel, all our leadership team and employees that wanted to show up can ask about anything, any type of training, development within that concept, and we provided that on the spot. But one of the things that we really loved, because it came to us, is that you have to inspect what you expect as a leader.
Inspect what you expect.
So if you expect great leadership from your people, because this is the problem. As an owner, you say, man, I've hired these people and I'm paying them good money. They should just be able to do the damn job. And the problem with that is that they are only as good as where they are now. But if you want them to grow and you want your company to grow, you got to invest.
You got to grow people.
You got to grow people.
That's it.
So if you want to grow your business, you got to grow your people. And the problem is that most people say, hey, let's use people to build profit versus let's build our profit, right?
Yeah.
By growing our people.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the tools that we use in our leadership development, I just want to kind of offer this out there, is and I brought it up earlier, is the Gallup, right? The strengths, and they have a specific one around manager strengths, and that's one that we introduced to our leadership development when we work with companies. And if you're out there and you say, look, you know, we can't really say our culture is toxic, but we really aren't doing this well. We understand, and we're not going to come in and say, hey, we need to, you know, we're here to fix your culture, right? Nah, we're not the external like consultants to come in.
The culture police.
Nah,
culture,
yeah.
That's what we should do. We should get some scrubs. We be the culture doctors.
Culture doctors. And we come in and But one of the tools that we introduce, and by that I'm saying we empower the organization to be able to lead through, is the Gallup strengths.
Yeah.
Because when people understand what their strengths are, that gives them the opportunity to start to look at their own leadership, how they're leading others. And a lot of times companies become filled with toxic leaders, and we use that word toxic, and it could just be really a lack of understanding
Yeah.
and a lack of knowledge. It could be a lack of skill, it could be a lack of ability. And when you don't understand your strengths, your strength may be uh relational, and you're trying to be strategic, and you're
Yeah.
forcing that,
Yeah.
and that's that forced culture, and it feels forced as a leader, and you feel frustrated around that. And a lot of times it's because, number one, you don't know your strengths, you don't know your values. And I would say, if you're going to focus on something around leadership development,
Yeah.
it's, do our leaders know their strengths and their values, not just the values of the company. That's important, right? But in order for leaders to fully be empowered to lead, they have to know where their power comes from.
Yeah.
When you're leading from your weakness, you'll be a toxic leader. When you lead through your strength, you'll be a healthy, vibrant leader.
Yeah.
So we want to lead through our strengths and through our values.
Yeah.
Because that builds trust. When people know you're accountable to your values, your team members will trust you, and you'll build that culture of trust, because leaders then understand, look, and team members understand, my leader has a set of values that they live by.
Right.
I can count on them, right? I know my leader values showing up.
Yeah.
So if they are going to live by that and stay accountable to that, I know I can trust my leader in that. That's where trust comes from, through accountability.
Yeah.
And so, do our leaders know their
and
strengths and values? Consistency.
Yeah, you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
That breeds that.
That's the difference between the training and the development.
Yeah.
Because development's consistent, training is one-off.
Yeah.
So keep the training. Don't scrap everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
But begin to think of it in terms of a development plan for the leadership, in the same way that you would have an individual development plan, an IDP, or we also work with team development plans. What's your LDP, your leadership development plan?
Yeah.
What's the plan moving forward to develop and empower your leaders and know their strengths, know their values, and also know how to lead through those, and also feel empowered to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, then we're talking, that's the cure. The cure to a toxic workplace is leadership.
So true. I'm a stink up the room, but I was looking down and I saw one of our longtime loyal listeners and watchers, Lauren Philippa, and she's from Ghana.
Yes.
So I just looked at my shoes, and this is so happy chance, and I forgot about this, Ryan, and this is going to kind of build into it. So these shoes here are designed. It's a Brooklyn, Ghana theme. So I wanted to show this off to Philippa. Shout out to you out there. But inside these shoes, my favorite part, and this is going to kind of go with what you said. So on the inside, Ryan,
yeah,
I'll put it up to this one says sharing stories, right? How do you build that trust? You know what I think about with the leaders that championed me growing up, is that it was all about stories. And it wasn't stories about them. It was just life.
Yeah.
Right. Or it was those stories that they shared when I was in a situation. George, I was there, right? The feel, felt, found method, where I understand what you're feeling. I may not understand what you're feeling exactly, but I once felt that way, and this is what I found.
And that opens up you.
Yeah, and it opens up because it's not always about you digging in somebody else's life. You're sharing your life. You're being vulnerable with your personal life. The other shoe on the inside is what you're talking about, Ryan, and it says building community.
Jeez.
So shout out to our lovely family over in Ghana. She's watching this afternoon. But building community and sharing stories. We talk about leadership development. You want to have that consistency, community. It's those things that matter.
Yeah.
That it's not always about. It's not about you as the leader, but that vulnerability that opens up when you realize that the title's the title and the human is the human.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
The title's a title and the human's a human, and you cannot develop a title.
You can't grow it. It is what it is.
It's
right?
there.
It is what it is, but you can grow people.
Yeah. And people want that.
Yeah.
People are longing for it. It's one of the top identifiers to potential hires wanting to work for your company is, how will I grow there?
Yeah.
Right. What is the opportunity for growth?
Yeah.
And if you look up one of the defining qualities of a toxic culture is there is no development and growth.
Yeah.
Right.
And people, employees are leaving. So some research, and I wish I had it pulled up for us, but I'll tag it on the post and I'll share some on LinkedIn a little bit later. But some of the rise and fall of employee engagement, belonging, retention, it's all about leadership, number one, but it's also about development. People now, and in fact, they're saying this, Ryan. They're saying, if I don't get paid what I need to be paid, right, I'm okay with it if there's growth and development. But if there's not growth and development, then it's not part of the process. And if it's not a part of the initial conversation in the beginning, I want more money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Either grow and develop me so I can be who I desire to be, or pay me for who I am today. And I'm going to find that growth and development on the outside. And when I find that growth and development on the outside, what's going to happen is I'm leaving.
And this
people want to be developed.
This very thing post-pandemic is 10 times.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about matters 10 times more than compensation in terms of whether people stay or go.
Right.
Like compensation, for sure. Yeah. We have to be paying people well, and they have to, as you talked about earlier, your financial well-being has a lot to do with your mental well-being and has a lot to do with just overall well-being in life. And that matters. But 10 times even more than that is culture, and leadership within the organization is the cure for the type of culture that you're looking for. And if you're interested in this conversation being brought into your business, how cool is it that George and I, as the hosts of Champion Your Culture, we lead Culture of Good. So this is what we do. So if you're looking for anything from leadership development to keynote for an event that's coming up, if you have any development opportunities that you're looking to foster and cultivate and introduce within your organization, and you're ready to invest in your people, the first step, reach out to us.
Yeah.
We have the tools. We have over a decade of building this culture of good and experience even beyond that within organizations. And so this is what we do. We take the guesswork out of it. We simplify the process. We make it easier to engage people and get the buy-in from leadership. And along with that, help you to establish and embed a leadership development within your organization that's vibrant, it's healthy, and that's growing. It's not perfect, as I said last week, and we'll kind of end with this. There's no such thing as a perfect culture, but yours doesn't have to be toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as we close, Ryan, I said this last week as we were ending, is that when it comes to leadership development, true leadership doesn't want anything from you. They want everything for you.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. If you're around a leader or a company organization that's just wanting from you and not for you, you might be in a toxic culture. That's what we should have done. We should have done you might be in a toxic culture
if every time the boss walks through the hallway, everybody hides, you might be in a toxic culture.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Oh my gosh. If you gotta, it's March Madness. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta hide your March Madness video because somebody's coming across and you're scared of what they're gonna say.
You might be in a toxic culture. Hey, another one. You want to do this for a second?
Let's do it.
If you look around and everybody looks exactly like you and has the same effing personality, you might be in a toxic culture.
If you look around and everybody looks like you,
yes,
but you're talking about diversity, my friend, you might be in a toxic culture.
Oh, we could just keep going on and on about it. But listen, we want to thank Culture Good for continuing to sponsor this podcast. Thank every single one of you for joining us today, being a part of this community. We really do care, and we want this conversation to keep going. And certainly, as I said earlier, reach out to us for any culture and leadership development that you're looking at doing within your organization. We are looking for new clients, and we want to build our community outside of just joining us. And so if there's that opportunity out there, we're looking for that. We have a resource team of experts, geniuses, might I say? Nah.
Be careful.
Hey, we haven't been to Genius University, but we've been to the School of Hard Knocks.
School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, we're practitioners, and we've done it, seen it, believed it, walked it, and developed it. And we want to do the same for you. So
you can check out this if you're watching live, or if you're watching this on the rerun. For those who cannot see on the live stream, you're just listening to us, you can go visit cultureofgood.com. Once again, that is cultureofgood.com to learn a little bit more about what we do, what we can do, and provide the services that we do. But development,
that's
the key.
That's the key.
You want the cure for your toxic
leadership.
Yep.
All right. So thank you so much for being with us this week. We'll see you back next week on Champion Your Culture.